It's just like that. We are back with chapter 68 of the universe, according to Mugsy. Today is Thursday, May 1st, 2025. I am Mugsy the Creator, and we are talking current events, culture, and consciousness. I am so excited to be able to break down some of the events that I have been seeing in the current events so that we can climb the ladder and I can explain to you how these current events are a product of our culture. And if we are lucky enough on this broadcast, what I'm going to do is teach you about your own consciousness and how that consciousness contributes to the culture. And the culture produces the current events, and that's what we do here on the universe, according to Mugsy. I have been off for a couple of weeks. There's been so much going on. It is an overload. I don't know how you people understand reality without someone to interpret it for you. Because the wisdom is in seeing through things, not seeing them as they are. It's in seeing through all of the facades that exist right in front of you. What is this crazy person talking about? I have a few current events that I know everyone's going to be able to relate to, but the first things first, a new season is upon us. A new dawn, spring has sprung. We are in the first day of May. Oh! And spring training is well underway. If you are not a restaurateur, maybe you're a baseball fan. There is no difference between the two. What I'm talking about is putting the band back together, assembling a team of people to accomplish a mission that you are all aligned to try and help accomplish together. Many of you who are sports fans see that there's baseball season has sprung. If you're a fan of the Boston Red Sox, maybe you know that there are a few players in the Boston Red Sox that they were looking to take their talents elsewhere. Maybe there are a few people, they're young bucks, excited to come up into the industry, excited to showcase their talents this season. And the incentives are aligned because everybody on the baseball team wants to get as many wins as they possibly can. I'm not a pitcher. I'm not a catcher. I'm not a first baseman. I'm not an outfielder. What I am is a waiter. I'm a waiter at the Village Tavern Restaurant in Salem, Massachusetts, and I am so excited of this season to bring the band back. The waiters are coming in from out of town. Anybody that's in the restaurant industry, there's so many of you out there. It's one of the most popular gigs nowadays. Know exactly what I'm talking about. Certainly in a tourist town, there are people coming in from out of town. Maybe they had thought that they had moved on from the restaurant industry altogether, and they were out looking for greener pastures. But wouldn't you know it, things shook out a little bit differently, and now they are forced to return to the same team that they were on before, a team that I appreciate so much because in the restaurant industry, our incentives are aligned. Certainly for the wait staff and the management of the restaurant, we are all slaves. I don't know if you guys know that. Unless you're walking around with $1 billion, completely able to control your environment at all times and the product of that environment, which is you, and all that you create, which is a product of the environment and you, its environment, the creation that you create. So it's just kind of interesting. I like to look at these things and examine them under a microscope because if I have to be a slave and I have to exist in an environment, it would make sense that my incentives align with my master. And as a waiter at a restaurant, I have a couple of masters. One is the customer that comes in. I have to make them happy. I have to create an environment that makes my customer happy. And I also have to create an environment that makes my boss, the owner of that restaurant, happy. That's pretty difficult because I don't have much control over everything. My boss gets to pick all the people that I work with. He gets to pick the chef of the restaurant who controls the food. He can pick all of the staff in the back of the support staff that if they don't support me, then I'm screwed doing my job. So it's very important if I'm going to be a slave, I need to make sure my paycheck aligns with the incentive of that restaurant. That we're all on the same page creating the environment, which is why I'm so thankful to be back at the Village Tavern. There are so many people inside that restaurant that love what they do. And you can see it when you walk through the doors. You can see those bartenders slinging drinks, fucking saying hello to you from the doorway, waving at you as they're doing 6 things. My friend Jess, oh my God, my friend Jay, they are unbelievable. You should come. You should come check out the bar at Village and you should see how unbelievable they are at their jobs. I'm so proud to be working with those teammates again for another tourist season in October in Salem. which is just getting started already in April and May. Like I said, the band's getting back together. So much insanity is about to pop off because it is a reflection of my own perceptions of the world. It is a confession of all of the ways that I see the world, that I think that this restaurant industry is full of completely and totally insane people. And I myself feel so absolutely comfortable falling right into it. Last season, coming in, not knowing any of these crazy psychopaths, knowing that I'm about to surround myself in this team, this environment of crazy people, not knowing if I'm going to fit in, if this team's going to be one that works with me. But it's that time of year. So whatever it is that you want to accomplish this season for me, it's going to be making a hell of a lot of money with the people inside the Village Tavern. I'm going to do everything I can to control my environment and support my team the best that I can. Whether that's thinking about the restaurant as I come in, preparing myself each day. I take every job that I have seriously, including this podcast. I take my job as a waiter just as seriously. So what I try and do is I try and control my energy to make sure I'm bringing the best personal environment that I can to that restaurant to help all of my teammates each day as we come into that restaurant to try to make as much money as we can for ourselves and as much money as we can for our slave owners, who I love very much. Alex, Andrew, and Arthur, I fucking appreciate you guys so much. Now, in order to do that, what I do is I take my vitamins. I clear my mind and I stretch. I try and prepare myself to create an unbelievable environment, dancing around, enjoying myself, so that everyone that walks by can see that I love my job as much as the next guy walking past me. I learned how to do this because I'm not a first-generation waiter. It's actually pretty incredible. I'm a second generation. So all of this was not only instilled in me in all of the lessons and patterns that I was taught as a child. I was lucky enough to work at close to a dozen restaurants in my life. In my 20 or 21 years of restaurant experience, I bring all of the patterns that I've distilled in working through many restaurants with many different types of people from many different owners that all require different things. What my job is to do is to enter that restaurant and read the energy of the room. Because everyone's going to need different support on different days. If I walk into the restaurant and the first thing I hear is a bell, ding, 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 ding. This is the energy, the frequency, and the vibration. Now, I just walked into the restaurant. It doesn't matter that there's no plates. It doesn't matter that there's no silverware. The first thing, the most important thing that I can do to be a good waiter is get that food out of the kitchen. Because what the chef is trying to communicate to me with that bell is there is food backed up and there are people outside waiting for it. And it's my job to understand that. If I am walking into a restaurant and I see that the bartender has 27 tickets falling out of the ticket machine and he's sweating and he's got a full bar, it is not my job to see if the host needs help seating people. It is my job as a waiter to understand that I need to support my bartender, which is why it is so funny to me. After acknowledging all of these things and the job that I must do coming into the restaurant, that I still have people that are brand new to the industry. They feel completely comfortable projecting the things that they need to do onto me. Saying, you forgot to do this. You forgot to do that. I don't know if you know, but next time you do this, you need this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I love you. That's what I need to say. I love you. I love that you see this potential, but do not project the things that you need to do that are your responsibility onto me, who, if you are not paying attention, is already right now reading the environment of this restaurant and making sure that my energy is spent in the most efficient, necessary place to create an unbelievable environment, not just for my ownership, not just for my waitstaff, but for the customers that are coming in to enjoy the food that we are selling and the drinks that we are slinging. It is so funny. It is so funny. All I can do is laugh. All I can do is laugh at these young women and these young men that come in, and they don't recognize exactly what's going on, and they start shouting things at me because they don't understand the patterns that they need to fall into to get their things done. It is completely fine. You bunch of psychos that I work with, you're never going to throw me off my game because I have the ability to pause, gather myself, laugh at the fact that, hey, you're right. Maybe I'm not going to get everything right. If you do have something that you want to critique me with, that's fine. I can handle it. If you have anything you want to critique, new young waitstaff, new young bartenders for any of my team, I suggest you take it up with their manager and their manager only. I am a unique individual. I have the power to be able to accept the criticism you are giving me in real time because it doesn't resonate with me. I know who I am, and nothing you can say can change that. I work very hard to control my chemistry. By eating healthy, I work very hard to control my breathing, which allows me to keep my mind clear. And that gives me the ability to laugh at myself. So you were right, sweetheart. You are right. I did forget some things. I will always forget some things when I'm in that restaurant. But what I am doing is I am using all of my energy to try and support everyone around me so that if I do slip up, I have the support of the support staff. That's what we're trying to run at the Village Tavern. I'm so excited to get that going this season. But, oh, it is hilarious. It cracks me up. It cracks me up when people do not recognize the wisdom that surrounds them and the people that truly are trying to care about them, because it's no surprise to me that all of a sudden the busboy, the bar back, now he has a podcast too, right? Because he has picked up on the wisdom. The most perceptive people in that restaurant, I share it with them. All the time I tell my friend Jess, who me and her got along immediately because she understands how to read energy, frequency, vibration. She learned those things in prison, which is why I also get along with my buddy Jay, all right? But even the people that I am not exactly like, I seem to get along with unbelievably. My buddy Tim and I are opposites in so many ways. So many ways. He likes the WWF. I like the UFC. He doesn't find the UFC exciting. I find the slow times in the UFC super exciting. He likes to wear sunglasses. I like to be on the patio getting the sun in my eyes. We are complete and total opposites. But when me and Tim are in the restaurant, we work together like peanut butter and jelly, spaghetti and meatballs because our incentives are aligned. We are both reading the energy. He understands what it's like from the kitchen. He understands what it's like from the management staff. He understands what it's like to be a waiter and a bartender, even though he has not worked in every single one of those roles. He has worked in some, but he has the ability to put himself inside somebody else's shoes and understand that, oh man, his entire happiness is not the entire reason that we are all here. No, we're here to get a job done, okay? When you are inside the restaurant industry and you hear people start talking about, oh, things aren't fair, somebody did more work than this guy over here. Fair here, fair here. What I hear are children complaining about fairness. Children who don't understand the reality of life. The people that I get along with never complain about what's fair. They ask me for help when they need it. They understand that there is, when I ask them if they need something, there is an underlying agreement that what I'm saying to you is not, do you need to talk to somebody? How are you feeling? Are you hungry enough right now? Like, should we maybe work on your water levels? What I'm asking you is right now, of the 5 tables of customers that you are getting, the 7 things that you're grabbing, the ketchup, the Diet Coke, the iced tea, the order that you're running to the back to correct, and the bar that you're trying to support with ice, is there anything right now in this moment that I can grab for you as I'm running past you? Grab some ice to carry out to the bar. I'm not asking you whether your boyfriend said anything mean to you in the past week. These are things that if you're focused on while you're waiting tables inside of a slammed restaurant, you're missing the picture here. You're not understanding what's going on. Oh, it's just a long way to say there's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on, and if you don't pause and take a moment to stop and reflect, then how do you know that you're the right person? And if you are the person out there pointing fingers left and right, you need to understand there's a lot of fingers getting pointed back at you. All right, so I do my best while I'm in there to bring my best energy, my best mentality, come in prepared. And when I come in and the first thing that happens is I am attacked, I understand that that attack is not coming at me because I am the one that deserves the attack. It's coming from someone who was just attacked. And that's how we climb the ladder. That's how I see someone truly as an infant. And I understand that what they are projecting onto me is nothing that I did, per se. It's something that has hurt them. And now they are hurting others because they have not found a way to heal themselves. Which is why I'm so grateful that other people have picked up on my patterns. Dish kids, barbacks, cooks, bartenders. And they appreciate and resonate the frequency that I'm trying to give off in the world. Oh, but that's my current events. That's what's going on. I don't have the ability to do this full time, despite the fact that it may be the thing that I am truly best at. This podcast, this broadcast right here, explaining the way the world works, the reality, and climbing the ladder for you folks at home so that you may make the decisions for that best help you with your life, wherever you're trying to take it. Now, current events. Let's talk about some other things that are going on in the world. There are a couple things that I wanted to discuss that you may have missed because the legacy media isn't necessarily doing a great job of covering it. Now, there's no shortage of things going on in the world. I've pointed out my friends all over the place. If you want to truly keep up on the wires of information, then keep up with my friends Timcast IRL and the current events that they're covering. If you don't like them, how about Patrick Bet David and his broadcast? Tom Billiou has a YouTube show. How about Breaking Point, Saga and Jetty and Crystal Ball? There are so many people trying to disseminate information on current events that are going, and I do not have the time to sit here and go through each one and explain how it's connected and the misinformation and the disinformation and the truth behind everything that they're trying to say. So what I'm going to do is try and choose a couple of stories that are going to illuminate some of the larger underlying things that are happening in our society. And these things should help you. If you start here, uncover the current events in your own life, understand what they are truly a product of. Now, my friend Warren Buffett, who I have a long, storied history of, my friend. Freshman year of college at Bentley University, we have talked about so many times. My friend Erica, oh, such a sweetheart. I drove across this beautiful country with her a few years later, but our first semester at Bentley University, a business school, she had no idea who Warren Buffett was, and we were out drinking underage in my room one night. Oh, I was off on a tangent talking about compound interest and how could you be going to a business school trying to understand business and not have any understanding of who one of the true business minds of a generation was, and the ability that he had to understand compound interest at such a young age and apply it led him to found Berkshire Hathaway, which ended up becoming a holding company and worked essentially as a mutual fund for so many years. He has returned some of the highest returns on money invested out of any individual in history. It is truly amazing what Warren Buffett has done. Oh, and I made this young girl cry freshman year. Oh, Erica, I love you. I'm so sorry. Oh, that was so funny. But Warren Buffett, again, we need to return to. We need to discuss, we need to talk about, because he currently owns 4.6% of the United States Treasury market. That is a lot. Now, what does that say about the larger underlying economic system that we exist in? This is not something new. In fact, it reminds me of a time about 120 years ago, 115, 125, something like that. This is not the first time in the United States history that the United States currency has been backstopped by some of the richest people in the country. Now, at the turn of the 20th century, late 1800s, early 1900s, this was routine for J.P. Morgan to lend to the United States government, to borrow from someone who had far more wealth than the country at the time. That's what the United States treasuries are. They are a way to lend to the United States of America. We used to sell war bonds and we used to sell bonds. These were very common because it was truly believed that the lender of last resort, the last person that would ever go bankrupt in the world, is the United States of America and their government, backed by the full weight of the United States military, the largest military that has ever been assembled in the world, as we are to understand it in history as it is told to us. Now what we have is one individual, Warren Buffett, who I've discussed at length, how brilliant he was, how he was able to accumulate such wealth based on the principles of compound interest, the same principles that I have applied to myself for my own happiness and health. It is incredibly dangerous that one man is now backstopping the dollar. Because what it means is there has been a lot of people in the world, everyone else in the world, the common average individual, other countries in the world like China, who used to backstop us because it was the safest bet in the world. It was the safest place you could put your money, and certainty is what people love in the marketplace. So, what this tells us is the United States dollar, as we've discussed again, how it has crumbled from inflation, its value, the purchasing power of the dollar has been on an absolute descent, direct straight line depreciation from 1970, when we moved off the gold backing of the dollar, to today. And that will continue because our dollar is not backed by anything. We have got into the nitty-gritty of this, but what we are now seeing are the current events, which means we, in our culture, have integrated in our own consciousness that it is not the best place, it is not the safest investment for our money. The culture has reflected that, and now we are seeing in the current events that individual actors are trying to backstop the United States economy, and that is dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous. What happened back in the day at the turn of the last 20th century, when we had individual actors backstopping the dollar, eventually what they did was a rug pull, and they created a whole different currency. The United States dollar as we know it, backed by the Federal Reserve Bank as created by the Federal Reserve Act of 1912, passed late into the morning hours on Christmas Eve of 1912, which brought the Federal Reserve into place in January of 1913, and it was backed by gold at the time until 1970, when we removed the gold backing from the United States dollar. That was the rug pull of the new currency that we did way back then. And if I were to start to stick my finger up in the air, I would say the environment that is created today is almost the exact environment looking to create a new currency today. I don't know exactly how that currency is going to be played out. I've talked again extensively on this podcast of the infrastructure, the underlying infrastructure, the highways that are being built for Bitcoin or a new Bitcoin-like cryptocurrency to be the rug pull of the new dollar. The BRICS nations are banding together to create their own currency. There is no shortage of attacks out in the world on our dollar. That puts us in a horrible economic place that I've predicted for a long time. This is the stagflation. This is the recession that we exist in, with the crippling inflation that is crushing the American consumer. That is why we no longer have a middle class. That is why the divide in this country is only growing greater and greater. We've talked about these things at length, but I don't know how to explain it to you any more than I am. Here's one event that should showcase everything that's underlying in the marketplace. If you don't believe me, you should get to know a plumber. You should get to know a financial plumber, and you should get to know my friend Conks. Conks Research on Twitter. Find him on Substack. He's got Conks Research on Substack. Check him out. He will show you everything that is happening inside the underlying structure of our financial system. I've spent many hundreds of hours dissecting the infograms, the infographics that he puts out. I don't know how anyone in the world could truly understand what's happening in our economy if they don't go into that rabbit hole and do the work for themselves to understand the plumbing. And these are people that have far more money than me. I have no money in the marketplace. I am as poor as an individual as I can get. I am a waiter that works for tips. I made $12,000 last year. And I'm happier and healthier than everyone I interact with. Everyone has more money than me, almost. Almost everyone I interact with. It's crazy. There are so many current events going on. There was another one that happened just a few months ago, or about a month ago maybe now. Javier Milei down in Argentina declassified a bunch of files that showed that Hitler lived well into the 1950s and 1960s in Argentina, which gives some credibility to the many stories that have been disseminated widely, some by my friends, the Y Files on YouTube, about a submarine being hollowed out and leaving Germany with the capacity to run for days on power and supply an escape route to anyone that wanted to get out of Germany at the time. Now, as I understand history, history is a well-constructed narrative by the people that are presently in power. I don't know what incentives Javier Milei has to declassify those documents. I don't know if those documents are true. What I have to ask myself is what incentives, who's going to benefit from releasing that information if it were to be true? Now, I've heard echoes of that being true for many, many years. I've seen much circumstantial evidence of blonde-eyed, blue-haired people in Argentina, many communities of German-speaking people. Now, as I discussed, the United States military, the largest military force to ever be assembled on the planet Earth as I understand it, at the time that they would have had the most power would have been the conclusion of World War II, as they were building up the informational power of the CIA and the NSA, beginning a Cold War with the Soviet Union, and traveling the world, certainly South America, as documented by Smedley Butler, and controlling the corporate interests of the United States through the power of the United States military. I would be incredibly surprised if our intel agencies were unable to figure out that the worst person, as we understand the current narrative in history, Hitler, someone we have continued to use as an archetype to paint villains in our current society. How could our intelligence agencies not have known about this? It's almost as if these two things are mutually exclusive and they couldn't both exist in the same reality. We're talking about many, many decades of a man continuing to live. We were told killed himself, murdered himself as a coward in a bunker. This would completely upend that narrative. And as I understand, many of the most advanced scientists inside the Nazi regime in Germany during the World War II times were brought to the United States under Operation Paperclip and promoted to the most secretive, most powerful scientific organizations that we have inside the United States of America. They were partly the reason we got to the moon. Now, how could we not know about this most powerful Hitler still existing down there? None of the ties that he had were maintained. Everything. He was completely isolated, seemingly creating a large community. I just don't believe those two things could be the case. I think that there was knowledge. Maybe we need to re-examine World War II under the lens and microscope with which we look at it. Perhaps some of the movies that have been programmed into our culture have clouded the way that the judgment that we use to look at the individual events. I am not someone that's going to sit here and tell you the Holocaust didn't happen and there were not millions of Jews that died in World War II. I see clear evidence of that. Absolutely horrific events that went on. Absolutely horrid. Which is what makes the declassification so powerful by Javier Milei. It stands to correct a lot of the narrative as we understand it, because this new information being declassified after so many years should not be a threat to anyone that's still alive, because most of those people should have passed on by this stage of the game. But it really makes me look at all the people that we've compared to Hitler. Perhaps the current president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. We spend a lot of time, certainly the legacy media, comparing him to Hitler. And now that we're re-examining who Hitler was, I wonder if that is still accurate. It might be. It very well might be. But if Hitler went on to live for multiple generations, I have to believe he sired more children. And that would also give some credibility to many of the timelines, the birth lines, that go into another former president of the United States, Barack Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, whose father and stepfather we don't know too much about, and whose family history may be a little more cloudy, because I have seen ties to Barack Obama in the Hitler legacy. And if I were someone who believed history and Hitler killed himself in a bunker, I would never believe that Barack Obama was a descendant of Hitler. But now, under new information that I have to examine, because I cannot directly tie any benefit to Javier Milei declassifying these files personally tied to his personal benefit, maybe there is some credibility to some of these stories and some of the circumstantial evidence that has been around in the culture for many, many generations, if you have been someone that was willing to take a look at it. Because I am just a waiter, a poor, homeless waiter who has more wealth and wisdom than I know what to do with, which is how I started sharing it here. And I exist in such an amazing community that I love. Everywhere I go, I have found such amazing friendships, such an amazing community of people that are healthy, that love what they do, my family, my friends. I just stumbled upon a new restaurant in Beverly called Kitchen Table. The staff is great in there. Unbelievable in terms of the way that I would run a restaurant. Many of the things that I would do, they do. So it's no surprise that I find myself there weekly. One of the things that I truly love that you can't separate from a restaurant is the food. And what they do is they source their food from their meat and their vegetables. Most people only try and source local vegetables, you know, the crudité that they may throw on your plate from local farms. But they do an unbelievable job of sourcing meat locally. Everything they get, they do their best job of making sure they reduce the supply chain in as many ways as possible to get it from the farm to your plate as fast as possible, even though you are dining inside of a restaurant. That takes an incredible amount of time and energy, the dedication, not only from the chef, but the supply chain of the restaurant, the ownership, the management, and the general manager. You need a general manager that is willing to support your kitchen, which is why I will continue to support them. I encourage you guys to check them out on Cabot Street. Such delicious food. Best burger in town. Oh my God, in terms of the restaurants on the North Shore, it is right up there, diamond in the rough, a spectacle. And I am so flabbergasted as I go to this beautiful restaurant on Cabot Street. As I'm driving down Cabot Street, there's a big billboard that hangs over it. And this billboard is advertising anyone that wants to sell a kidney, which is crazy. It's crazy to me that this billboard hangs over this beacon of hope in a community, trying to provide the literal health, the literal chemistry, the food that it will take to make these humans healthy. At the same time, there is someone directly above them who believes that this poor community is the best place to advertise, to buy an organ, because the people in the community are so desperate, they would be willing to sell the literal things that they need to keep themselves alive, because they may not need it at this current present moment in time. They may need cash more. Oh, the polarity of the two things that are happening, of course. That is the polarity of all of the culture that I see before me right now. And it is a true reflection of where I live. Oh, the community that I am in, simultaneously right next to each other, interacting, the yin and the yang, the black and the white, the light and the darkness. That's really all it is. I don't know if that's a personal individual who is looking to save their own life, and they have the funds to be able to put up a billboard in an effort to extend their own time in this third dimension here on Earth. Or if this is a business, perhaps someone understands that there is money in this, a way to provide a stable life for an individual by procuring things for other richer individuals elsewhere that they may need. I don't know. This could be an international thing. We could be flying people into the country to get kidneys off low-income donors for cheap. I have no idea what that is, but it is absolutely a reflection of the culture. The worst part of our culture hangs right above the most beautiful seedling of what the community is hoping to grow. A restaurant that is truly sourcing, trying to help the local businesses and provide an unbelievably healthy dining experience and environment for its customer base. That was nuts. And I just really thought it was a good anecdote to shine a light on where we're at as a society, because that's in Beverly, Massachusetts. Beverly, Massachusetts, 25 minutes north of Boston. As I understand it, was so beautiful, the hills of Beverly, that when someone finally moved out west to California and they saw the same hills right on the coastline of Beverly Hills, that's what they named it. These hills remind me of my home, Beverly, Massachusetts. So I'm going to name these hills here in California Beverly Hills. What has Beverly turned into? What has Beverly Hills turned into? The art is in seeing through, not in seeing, right? That's the old Manly Hall quote. Oh, there is no hiding from the reality of our culture. That's something the kidney cowboy and I, as we climb this ladder into the consciousness, have discussed a lot. I'm lucky to be able to have had so many conversations with that Houston kidney doctor, my friend, my fraternity brother back in the day, who our relationship has continued to expand over the years. He has felt comfortable enough to be able to reach out to me at times as an adult man to ask for help. And that is such a beautiful thing that most people don't have access to. What my buddy, former and future guest of the podcast, he will be back on shortly. We'll have him in real time. What he was able to ask me was the energy, the frequency, and vibration. When I see you move about the world, you seemingly do so effortlessly. How do you start to truly think about these things? That was incredibly important, because what it meant between myself and my good buddy, the kidney cowboy, was we had already created the environment to be able to begin the discussion. The environment already existed to be able to feel comfortable about truly giving a compliment to another human being, recognizing some sort of lack in oneself without the judgment that one would feel for their own ego, in an attempt to be able to create a more well-rounded, healthy, healed human being. How is it that you do it? How do you, Mugsy, embody the energy, frequency, and vibration We are doing it right now, my friend. Your ability to be able to feel comfortable enough to ask me that without the fear of judgment is exactly the light that I am trying to create in the world. That's all I'm doing. We're creating light and we're creating darkness. When someone in the restaurant comes over to me, they say, "Can you believe someone just ordered a martini?" Of course they ordered a martini. Ugh. It's just my luck that this person ordered a martini. What they're trying to do is they're asking me to co-create their darkness with them. They want to live in a hole inside that restaurant today, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to create the light. Oh, thank God they ordered a $17 martini. Can you believe you're going to get $3 of money just for dropping that off to the table and smiling at them and saying, "Can you enjoy this beautiful Cosmo?" You're a waitress. That's what you're here to do. You're here to create the light in those people's eyes. If they ask you for a drink, you're here to get them a drink. If they ask you for a steak, you're here to get them a steak. If they ask you for it well done and then you give it to them well done and they say it was supposed to be rare, it's your job to create the light in their eyes that you get them a rare steak. We forget about the fact sometimes that they ordered it well done. Sometimes we let those things go, but creating the light is being able to take a negative moment and have the negative emotions and alchemize those chemicals inside your brain and say, "No, we're not doing negative things here today. Today we are only creating light, positivity." That's what we're here to do. So I don't know exactly what was going on in my buddy's mind. I don't know what struggles he was particularly having, but I know we are already in the place that we need to do in the current moment, here and now, the only time that exists. Because in this moment, you are recognizing, hey, here's someone else that I can learn from. Even as a well-respected doctor in my field, I see a poor, homeless waiter who seems to be moving so confidently. How can I remove the ego from myself and take something, learn something from this individual who most people would say I have nothing to learn from, and create an environment where we can benefit from this together with each other? That's what we're doing. So I had the opportunity to reflect myself, right? Because that was a moment for me to truly think, what is the things that I'm doing? Oh, first of all, thank you. Jesus Christ, that's one of the nicest things anybody's ever said to me. Thank you for even thinking that I move about the world so effortlessly. That's an incredible compliment coming from a friend of mine. Let me do what I can to return the favor. Let me truly, honestly reflect on what are the things that I do. How do I embody these things? How do I be the change that I want to see in the world? I make sure I eat healthy because that controls the chemistry of my brain. I make sure I control my breathing. And whenever I notice that my breathing is off, there's a lot of emotions coming in and I need to slow it down because I can't think clearly when everything's so emotional. And then I need to laugh at myself because I'm no good at this. The only thing that I know is I know that I know nothing. That's it. I've been able to integrate that into my software so that I can continually look at the world with fresh eyes and live in the eternal now. I have 20 years of experience being a waiter. There are countless times I forgot to bring out ketchup. It doesn't mean I'm a perfect person. I need the continued self-reflection from those around me, which is why I can try and control my environment at all times. I try and control my environment so that I am always bouncing into things that make me grow and make me better. And when I control my own internal environment, it prevents other people from being able to knock me off my course. Because if a little 23-year-old sweetheart of a waitress can come in and knock me off my game, well, then I'm truly not that good at what I do as a waiter. If what my buddy does, truly asking me, hey, it looks like what you're doing is effortless. If that knocks me off my game and all of a sudden I come back to him and I say, hey, listen, buddy, it's not effortless. I'm actually an anxious mess. I have no idea what I'm doing. All I'm doing is faking it all the time. Well, then I'm truly not the thing that he's asking me about, right? Just him asking me about it knocked me off my game and got me into my own head. It's all about the environment that you create for you. What I like to do is I like to record these things out at Breakheart Reservation or outside, which is why I'm so happy this new season is upon us. There are so many current events going on in the world. I do not have the time to explain them to you. Not all of them. If you have questions about them, I encourage you to get in contact with me. MugsyTheCreator.com. If you would like to truly join this broadcast and be a part of it, whether you have questions, whether you have stories, whether you want to call in, Patreon.com/MugsyTheCreator. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, YouTube. Find it all at MugsyTheCreator.com. I love you guys. It truly is a pleasure to be able to bring this to you. I hope you guys got something from it. I hope I'm not as full of shit as sometimes I can be. And I hope that, fuck it. I got to go to work. All right, guys? Take back your consciousness. I love you. I'm out.